biggest campus in the world, maybe, and they also get to some scholarships and technology grants for the school and so on. And we ran Google for Google in 2014 for the 7th time in the US. And talking to some teachers, we realized that they want some more content to bring into class. And then we called our friends at Discovery, and what we did together is created a few vignettes, video vignettes, kind of following the creative process of creating a doodle and sharing that with teachers. Along with the videos, we created, and maybe, let's show a little bit of the video just to get an idea.
All right, so this is one of the first vignettes, which was kind of an activity pack rolled out before the actual virtual field trip to allow students to engage in this program.
My name is Sophia. My run here at Google is Durham, which means I'm part of a team that draws the homepage illustrations for the logo. I've been doodling on my own since I was about 3 years old, maybe even younger. Basically, whenever I could pick up a crayon. Any adult who is trying to be creative or is creative is just drawing upon their inner child. That's what childhood is all about, is this exploration of every possibility that you can even think about.
I think, so with each and every one of these videos that we created, we also provided some classroom activities for the teachers, and we did 4 different versions of them by age groups. And then so we rolled out these videos and classroom activities throughout the competition. And towards the end of it, we ran the virtual field trip live from the Google Network. So Kyle came and joined us and the team there. Maybe just see a little bit of that too to kind of get the live vibe of it.
Hello, welcome to our 2014 Durham virtual field trip. We are live on the Google headquarters, and my name is Kyle Shell with Discovery Education. Now, today we're going to have the opportunity to interact with the Google team. Ryan, how are you today? I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing? I'm great. I'm ready to learn about Ryan in a second because we want all of you to know and remember is that you can interact with us throughout this event, and that's my favorite part. Please do keep your questions and get them ready. Submit them to us using the hashtag #DoForGoogle on Twitter and Google+.
And actually, that day, we had so many amazing creative work of kids posted on Google and Twitter with this hashtag that it actually became the #1 trending topic on Twitter in the US that day. So that was a crazy thing. We had 100,000 students join us to this virtual field trip from over 2,500 classrooms. So it was just great to see and great to see the response as well.
So we're talking about a virtual field trip. We're not talking about just a guided tour that's like video. It's actually very interactive. How do you feel that differentiates from the classical field trip? What merits does it have versus a classical field trip?
I think that's a great question. I think that's what I want to kind of share. This whole spectrum, in fact, I can share this with Dacia she put together. Some of the work that you've done. Why don't you describe this a little bit? Because I think this sets up the range of virtual field trips, and then we can talk about how that differs from.
Sure. So I teach in Durham Public Schools, which is in Durham, North Carolina. So I sit in the backyard of Duke University and UNC. So go whatever you want to go there. And what I want to bring to my students of my 30 elementary schools are real relevant connections. Field trips face-to-face are wonderful, but they're not always equitable. So a lot of our kids can't afford that out-of-pocket money to go on a field trip. So you can go and enroll this. But what we do is we have teachers put up on the, you can just mute it at the top. So we have teachers put up on the board what their standards are for the next 3 or 4 weeks. And so we have kids turn and talk to decide what they really want to learn from that. And then we take their desires back into a PLC and we plan our instruction, matching our standards, but plan the instruction around what they want to know. So you're seeing here Skypes and Google Hangouts and FaceTimes with Olympic stars and with Discovery Channel stars, NASA, Space Station, the national parks, the Smithsonian, anywhere that I can get into free because I'm all about no money because I have none. But anywhere I can get into and they can say, yes, we'd be glad to do that with your kids, we will set these up. Now, on the scale of 30 of these per week that we're doing right now. So every school, every grade level has an opportunity to participate in these virtual type field trips, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. We front load our curriculum with our students because a lot of our kids in some of our schools don't have those prior experiences. So we front load, and then we have the experience of the virtual field trip. And then our teachers can teach for 3 or 4 weeks based on what we just did on the virtual field trips.
What do you think, what virtual field trips tend to work the best for you?
I'll be honest with you, it's anything that gets them out of their comfort zone at that moment. You know, virtual field trips surpass poverty, which is really cool. That's one thing I really want people to leave here understanding. Educators, you can go back tomorrow, take some of the resources we do today and ignite these in your schools. Because kids will look up and they'll see someone like Bill Nye, or they'll see a Peyton Manning or a Jonas brother up there talking to them. And the kindergartners and first graders are still don't understand that they can't go right through that video because they're saying, well, Tom, what do you think? He goes, oh my gosh, what's happening? So that's, I don't think I have any that are more attractive than others. I will tell you that we've started things now called chats. So we've had weather chats, we're starting eco chats, we've had force and motion chats. So being from North Carolina, and I don't like it, but I'm not gonna put it down, NASCAR is a big thing. So our kids love NASCAR. So I can bring them in face to face. So myself and James can build a car, but when they're looking and talking to Dale Earnhardt Jr., you would think that the rock star had just come in the building. So about anything, but they like the stars.
We can't not NASCAR. You know how many engineers it takes to make one of those cars? That's a field in sim. I'll take it. So what does a company like Google get?
Yeah, so Google's mission is to organize more information, make it universally accessible and useful. And that's, you know, it started with search when we expanded to so many other things. And so with something like Street View, for example, we go to a museum in France or the pyramids in Giza or the Taj Mahal, and we document it. And so that anyone can walk through it from their computer screen and feel like they're there. And that, you know, gives the opportunity to teachers to just go in and show the world to their kids places that they might not be able to go to. So Google really is all about making these things universally accessible. So we do that with the Street View and Culture Institute, but also with Google Hangouts, we kind of give the megaphone to the teachers to basically share it with their students and with other students around the country. And we are not teachers, so we give them the space to do those things. I think lastly, one more thing is that when we bring in virtual filters into the Google headquarters, like we did with Discovery and Google for Google, we also kind of share the Google culture with some kids that might be the future Googlers, and that's very important for us as well.
And I think that goes back to your earlier question as far as what differentiates the virtual filter from the classic field trip is that exclusivity. Being able to bring students to places where it doesn't even matter if you have an unlimited budget, but you still, if you don't have that relationship, you can't get inside of the Google headquarters, right? Or you can't get inside of the Weather Channel studios, etc. So I think that's one thing that kind of differentiates is. The other thing to me that stands out is the massive amount of students that we can have interacting and learning alongside of one another at the same time, real time. We were in Pittsburgh 2 weeks ago, I think it was, for an event. And we were highlighting America's top young scientist. He's a 9th grader now, Sahil. And he had students, classmates of him that are 8th graders watching this just down the hallway, watching him as he was sharing information on camera. And so we did a little kind of after party interview with them. And the number one thing that these students were blown away from as they were watching this virtual event was that there were other students like them asking questions in California and in Texas and all these places around the world, because I think when you're watching a screen in general, you get so used to just watching a screen and you're the only one watching it. But that interactive piece really kind of brought the world into
It also is a matter of scaling. We would love to get as many students as we can inside our office, but it could only fit as many as 50 students, or we got 100,000 students that one day, that 1 hour into our offices, and that was just
How critical is it to have classrooms submit the questions pre-event rather than just doing it as you go along?
Yeah, so I think virtual field trips, along with anything you do as a teacher, needs to be intentional. So I feel like if you give students opportunities to think about the questions, make sure they're well thought out, and have those ready, it does two things. It speeds up the process of the virtual field trip, and it gives them some success while they get up there to read. Think about students that have a hard time reading. So for them to have their question ahead of time, they really practice with it. That's a big deal to get up there and ask a question to a NASA astronaut. However, we still have kids that are doing this, and we're not going to stop that because that's that instant question that needs to be answered. So for an educator, for my purposes with my students and teachers, we like to have the questions pre-thought out, just so that instruction can continue all the way through the virtual field trip.
How heavily do you rely upon big companies or Discovery Education or Google?
A lot. Yeah. So first of all, you have to know that the virtual field trips that I use from Google and Discovery, they're free. And for a lot of corporations, they don't give us a lot of free stuff. So these two are different. I've always said that I do not work for Discovery, but I'm a passionate evangelist for them because it's not about the product, it's about the relationships and the community that they build with teachers and educators. So the free stuff is cool too, though. So when we Skype with Hershey, Pennsylvania, I don't ask for it. Well, I do sometimes, but not all the time. And so I don't ask for it, but they send me stuff. So when we're Skyping there or doing a Google Hangout, I've got 700 kids. Hershey sending little Hershey's for every student. And I know that doesn't sound like a lunch, but guys, when they're making that right there on the screen and they say to the kids to pull off the paper, put it in their mouth, I think they're really long in the chocolate factory. It's just a very cool thing. So yes, I do rely on you. And if I ever call you and ask you to do it, your answer has to be yes.
How hard is this to do when things on your own?
Okay, so it's not, so this could be a full-time job in a district. So if you want to talk to your superintendent about this, you can have a VFT director, and they can provide this K-12. Right now, I'm really focusing on K-5. So it takes me a long time. I have a wonderful husband at home who doesn't see me a lot because I'm on the computer a lot, making these experiences happen for kids. I will say that I want to take a halibut real quick, that I use social media. So if I didn't have social media, if I didn't have this relationship with Discovery that I have, because they know people, so when I tweet and Katie Couric retweets me, that's 2.7 million people that I just reached. And then Jeff Rose calls me and says, hey, we'll give you some survivors to hang out with. Not the negative one, but the really good ones. So, yeah, it's pretty fun. Sorry.
How do you see the virtual field trip evolving? Sorry, great, cool.
Sure. I think, first off, just to piggyback on what Daisha was saying, if you're interested in this, if you've not participated in the virtual field trip before, the first step is just to start, right? To watch one, to bring your students along, bring your teachers along, etc. But I think the way that they're evolving is that more and more teachers are not making this passive learning experience. They're shifting from just consuming kind of what we're pushing out, having their students create their some sort of artifact to document their experience. I remember back to, we did a virtual field trip past 4 years now with an egg farm. And so we started out in an egg farm in Arizona, and we had a star discovery educator, a teacher from Colorado, who created an animoto. It's a digital story basically that documented before, during, and after the virtual field trip. What did this look like in my classroom? How did I use this? How did my students learn from this? And how did students do little interviews? And she shared that. And to me, that was so powerful because it wasn't just about listening. They were able to push that out and share.
And I guess the evolution actually started about 20 years ago. So for you teachers that have been in the business for a while, we've always tried to bring virtual field trips into our classroom. My first year teaching, I had my students pack suitcases as first graders. They came to school, they stood outside the door, they got their passport stamped, they got on a plane by tying rope around the chairs, which is illegal now, don't do that. But to tie in, I had little waitresses in fourth grade that would serve them peanuts, don't do that anymore either, and water. And then when we pulled the curtain back, they were in China. So we've been doing this for years, and now with just the whole piece of technology, we can take them anywhere. I haven't found any place. I do want to put someone right inside of a volcano and see if he'll do it from there. I haven't found anybody.
Yeah.
Maybe Belinda.
Those gases aren't really that.
Yeah.
They get camera in there. So, I mean, would you suggest that even if the school has the budget for real field trips, that they replace them with virtual field trips?
I don't think virtual field trips are a replacement for, I think they're an enhancement to. Like Kyle said, even the best place in the world is unobtainable to kids because of the prices and the who you know. But a virtual field trip can happen every day. In second grade, we're studying life cycles. So for every day for 2 weeks, I have classes that are visiting a different farm or a different incubation place or a different ecosystem so they can see the different life cycles. That's 15 minutes out of their day. And for the administrators who say, we don't want to lose instruction time, that is not losing instruction time. That is engaging kids so that we can prepare them to work at Google.
I mean, that's a gold star. How do you actually make them interactive with CAC Google? How do you make it actually interactive rather than just a document?
Yeah, so for example, in some of our connected classrooms, and in our virtual field trips, we ask kids to do stuff while they're watching and show us their information and the feedback and go back and forth and work together. And that makes such a huge difference. And I think, for your last question, maybe, I still think physical experiences are important, but that's on a local basis. And in your community, it's still very important to go outside. But really, as everyone already said, going into Google, we cannot really do that for everyone in the United States, and it's such a great opportunity for us to work and improve technology. Yeah, and then the other piece of it is really letting them ask questions to the camera. We see them, they see us, and that's such a great experience for us as well to engage with kids and be able to ask them their island.
And I think to that point, again, it's about augmenting that real world experience. And so Daisha was chatting with me earlier today, she was sharing how you went to the Grand Canyon. Right? You want to tell that story?
So I went to the Grand Canyon, and for just a small amount of time, I was able to record video of myself there that I could share back with our kids, who will probably not be able to visit the Grand Canyon, the majority of those children. They were so excited, they were studying landforms. What a great way to learn landforms. We looked right down the side of the Grand Canyon. So it's a lifestyle right now for us.
But I think you're also doing a leadership role there in that you are modeling for not only your teachers, but also for students what they can be doing. So if students are then going on their trips and permissions and things would have to be arranged, but why couldn't students also start to learn these kind of classes? Why couldn't they start to create their own learning that's along with it?
In fact, aren't you actually doing some virtual field trips from Boston on this trip?
I am, and right now we're actually Google Hangouting with, hey guys, with about 50 people from Durham on the schools right now. They're an hour ahead of us.
Yes, I have.
Okay, so it's 4 o'clock there, and but they're watching right now, and then tomorrow the kids will get to watch these particular things. I just want to give the most experiences that I can to our children. It's not test scores. I want to stop testing so much and start investing more in our students. And I think this is one way that we can do that. It's, again, free, which is a great word for your board.
Well, considering that there are definitely, I know that in the school districts near me, there are kids that live 10 miles from the ocean and have never been to the beach. And you're taking kids to Antarctica and to the, to see glaciers. It's amazing. So, what kind of curriculum do you do with the virtual field trips? Do you have a lot of pre and follow-up? Is it actually driving the curriculum, or is it something that you're doing field trips around what they're supposed to be learning already?
Well, if I use discovery stuff, they're going to give you curriculum for that. The teachers can go right on there. There's a site I'm sure I can show you in a moment where you can just click on archive field trips, the virtual field trips. You can watch it just like it happened, and then there's pieces there. Because I want to make sure that we are following North Carolina standards, we pull standards first. Then we let kids talk about what they want to know. What can they be if they do this really well in the classroom? What can they be? quick story, a young boy in one of my schools, a fifth grader that was behaviorally challenged. Ever had some of those kids before? Who couldn't sit still, couldn't do anything. That he, for very long, dissected frogs with us. And while he was doing that, we Skyped with a Mayo Clinic. And his teacher was just crying in the background, watching how engaged this child was. So after it was over, he said, Dr. Drizzle, they call me Dr. Drizzle, which is kind of a cool thing, but he said, Dr. Drizzle, so you're telling me, you promised me that if I stay in school and I behave myself and I do more of this science stuff, that when I graduate from Duke, I can have my pop stop shaking all the time. So I said, yes. And I immediately called the provost over at Duke and I said, there's this guy that we need to get in there and I need to get a scholarship there. You know, that's what it is a transfer goal. In 20 years, what are they going to remember in our classroom? They're going to remember being at Google. They're going to remember being in the polar bear buggies and watching that stuff. So,
well, Discovery, one of your missions is to ignite curiosity. So what are some of the most engaging virtual field trips that you guys have seen?
Well, one of them is that, as you just mentioned, is of course Google taking inside the Google headquarters. That of course gets lots of attention. Past couple of years, we've been able to work with some of the partners at Polar International and take students up onto the tundra to see polar bears in their native habitats, and that's been really fascinating to be a part, to be able to be a panel up there and be a part of that. I think to me, these experiences are also about sparking that desire to learn. It's that engagement piece, and I think sometimes teachers are hesitant to even participate in a virtual field trip because we haven't done that yet, or we haven't covered this yet. But I think sometimes this is the best way to start to give some students some sort of background information to be able to say, oh my goodness, what would it be like to be a polar bear scientist, and how can I follow that career pathway? Because that's the other thing we're doing, is we're exposing students to careers from all across different industries that students can then kind of resonate and say, oh, that might be a new career. What do I have to do to get to that place?
Well, since you guys have started doing more and more virtual field trips, have you found that access is getting easier because more people are working? Such as the White House. It seems sort of crazy that you can bring students into the White House to actually talk with their chief of staff. Have you found that it's getting really easy to facilitate them?
yes. And again, I haven't had anybody turn me down here. So that's the cool thing. People are out there waiting to do this. And I love to speak to corporations that, that are for profits. This is something you can do free for the education forum. We're a village here, and I want to come to your companies because I'm teaching your kids. I'm teaching your future employees. So if I could, Google made a comment yesterday, one of the things that they don't look at test scores when they hire people. They look at collaborative, ability to learn students that are ready to learn. That's what we can prepare them for through these virtual field trips. So yes, it's getting much easier to do this. I can put a tweet out in 48 hours. Sometimes I have my husband monitor Facebook, monitor Twitter to make sure I get the right person in there matched up to do these field trips.
Oh, sorry.
I think that also kind of comes back to that other question, how do we engage and interact with students, and there's a question about, is it worthwhile to have students only ask questions before the event or during the event, and I think it's that mixture. But social media has allowed us and enabled us to do that so much more often, and then we can start to see people trending on Twitter and so forth. And then the result of that, again, students sharing what they're doing, and how they're learning, and teachers sharing those stories as well. And so I think, yes, as we continue to do more and more events, we've also seen more and more social interactions.
I think this might seem a little scary to someone who's not tech savvy. So you're coming out the gate, you've never done this before. What is the first step that you're going to do? I mean, if you're not somebody who spends a lot of time working with social media.
So if you're going to watch something that's already prepared for you by a company like Discovery or Google, it's just turning on the computer. Most of us can do that now. For a while, my VCR still flashed 12, 12, 12. I sort of got that together. If you're a teacher, I encourage you to sign up for Skype in the classroom. It's a free thing, Google Hangout, it's free, and then Skype in the classroom down the hallway. And that's how I started my teachers. I lead a lot of these virtual field trips myself. But then I work with teachers, I'm building teacher capacity, so they're organizing their own now. They're saying, hey, by the way, I just hooked up with, Michael Jordan, and he's gonna do, are you okay with that? Cool, what are you gonna do? We're gonna talk about force and motion and jumping and height and acceleration and velocity. I said, go for it. So it is a little difficult, but again, we're gonna give you some resources on maybe some tutorials on how to push the button and hit this.
You did mention, though, so if anyone's wondering, if you go to discoveryeducation.com/events, that's one place you can go for all of our archive events, so those are all there on that tab there, so that might be a good place.
And pretty soon we're going to actually open this up. We've got a microphone right out here, so if you have any questions on the virtual field trip or how to get started, think of it now, line up right there, and ask our panelists anything you think of. So have you found that the virtual field trip has become more exciting than the actual classical field trip for the students? It seems like they get access to more interesting things. I remember our field trip to the farm, the blacksmith. I never got to go to
Again, I go back to the equity of this. A lot of times in schools, you have 4 or 5 kids that parents won't allow them to go on an actual face-to-face field trip. Either it's a cultural thing, it's never a money thing in our system because we would always make sure that we would, ante up money among teachers or find PTA money, but some kids just won't go to those things. So even though face-to-face are still good, I think the virtual field trips, again, across the board, everybody participates. And principals will tell you that our attendance is up on virtual field trips. Really? Our attendance is up. I don't have hard data for that, but they will say, by the way, in no announcement, don't forget third grade has a virtual field trip tomorrow. Every third grader is in that seat because they want to participate. And then they get a Hershey's Kiss.
Yeah. Oh, we actually have a question already.
Hi there. Julie Sheehan with Girl Start. We do virtual guest speakers and sort of approaches with our December initiative. But one of the challenges that we have, by the way, I love what y'all are doing, all of you. I'm so impressed. One of the challenges we have is getting schools to participate is permission. Because a lot of companies want photos or videos. They want to keep those. And so we're coordinating something like December hangouts with 500 kids. There's a lot of barriers that come up. So how do we address that?
So I can tell you from an education standpoint, with public schools, we have a media release that kids sign every year, just to give them that photo permission to be in the yearbook and things like that. So we use that release, but it still doesn't stop kids that don't have the release because we just put them out on camera shot. So every kid does get to participate. Now, I've not had a company yet that is asking for the full, indemnity clause or the images and things like that. So I guess we would work with that for a later point, but I always have permission to tweet because when I tweet out what's happening in the classroom, that's where I get more people to say, oh, I'm interested in that. Someone asked me earlier during an interview before we get a media on this, and no. And I'm okay with that. I'm not there for the media. I want the kids to be involved, but how cool would it be for media to pick up on something good that's happening in our schools? We're actually, in 2 weeks, we're going to be Skyping with a young lady in Selma. It's going to walk the bridge and talk with our 5th graders. Because we're talking about civil rights and the whole thing, 50th anniversary. These kids won't get to go there. They're going to walk that road with her. And I think the connection is her grandfather was actually on the road, or on the bridge on that. So we use them in the forms, but then if they can't be in it, we just move them. Because like right now, this Google Hangout is only happening right here.
So we had a virtual field trip into Google. What kind of questions were the kids asking?
Yeah, they asked many different questions like, what is the hardest doodle you ever did? What was your favorite doodle? They asked where do you get inspiration? A lot of the questions were about where did I get this first idea? What to draw? And our doodlers really talked a lot about research and about creating some inspiration. Inspiration boards. that's what I was looking for. And kind of pulling together different integrations from different times and all kind of using the internet, of course, and coming up with something that elevates what you see and creates it your own. So I think that was like a question that came back on.
First of all, I want to say thank you to Community Discovery for offering these virtual field trips. They have a huge impact in Title I schools like the one that I work in, because our school district, in an attempt to address budget concerns, cut funding for busing for field trips. So virtual field trips are almost exclusively the kinds of field trips my students get to take. And for Title I kids, backyard is as far as they see. They're lucky to look over the side of the fence. So being able to eat with over bears and watch chicken eggs and those kind of things. They kind of think it's really cool that I know Kyle now, but you know him, yes I know. But I just want to ask, what do you suggest for schools that have low tech or no tech options? Skype is not really an option in my building. We just got Wi-Fi, and it's really hard. I was very excited when my first grade teachers came to me and said they were participating in something for Discovery, and it took an entire team to come in and set up all of the equipment that was required so that the kids could participate. And they packed 120 first graders in one classroom so that they could do that. But what do you recommend for schools that are on a low tech option?
I think you can definitely add this too. But to start, I would say exactly what you just said, bringing lots of classrooms together and showing that need. Because we do get lots of emails and comments and questions before, and then even after the event about how can I make sure that this works. And for most of our events, we use live stream prepping, making sure you can watch one of these types of events. You can get to that website in advance, and so we'll have a little kit that can walk you through that. And I think when you can have you can demonstrate the need that this is of value to you and your students in your class, and you have multiple teachers that are doing that, so much so that you're going to interrupt a day, you're going to bring 3 classes together for a viewing party. That's when I think you can also get administrative support, or at least that's what we've heard you can have more success. Have administrators then support the ITP and say, no, this is a need. Even though we might not have equipment for every classroom to watch it, we can bring lots of students into that one place, and that's been one way to solve it.
You can also use phones to do this. So a couple times I've done, we just had a phone and we plugged into a projector. So you're telling me now I don't have a projector. So on my other side of the job that I have that I don't get paid for, I'm a great grandmother. And I help thousands of teachers write grants. So let me encourage educators out there to go home tonight and sign up for DonorsChoose.org. When I heard Charles Best, the other day, I told him that I had over 50 as a teacher funded, and he just grabbed me and I thought for a moment I might marry him. But I've been able to help a lot of people find grants, close to $10 million worth of grants, through small things like Donors Choose and Walmart and Target and Lowe's, who will give you those $400 grants that at this time can now provide you with some type of camera computer that will allow you to do this, including projectors. Again, we only respect what we inspect. So if we can really understand the value of this for our kids, then our board members will respect that, because they see the investment that we're making in children's lives. So if they see you doing it like this and you're all around your little phone. In fact, if you have the ability to do it on a big screen, but you just want to do it around your phone just with that big look, and then you just go to places and say, this is how we watch movies in my classroom. A lot of people are willing to give. I think that people are intrinsically good, and they want our future to be invested in it. So DonorsChoose.org, do it tonight.
I mean, I feel like we all have a vested interest in creating the next generation of scientists and engineers and even artists. And I think that the big companies, when you go to them with these needs, are definitely going to respond, because they want that workforce coming in. So do you have any programs over at Google that are investing in the future like that?
Yeah, so I am not on the Google for Education team, so I don't have the full spectrum of programs that they're running, but you're more than welcome to check it out online. There are several programs that give free activities like CS First, and there's a classroom, I'm not sure as well, sorry, but like a classroom, new classroom program that allows teachers to grade and for kids to share their work, etc. So we're trying to make teachers' lives easier by talking to them and saying exactly what they need and creating technology to fit their needs. And in addition to that, we have some hardware that we're trying. And I'm sorry that I'm not full, I don't have the full information about that, but we do have all the Chromebooks and the tablets that are made for education, and we do give them out. For example, we give $50,000 to the winner, and we help the school get the technology they need to continue on their business. Another question for you?
So I'm from the US Durham actually, and so I was kind of interested from the employer side. It's great when you have big employers and they have resources and they're able to do it, but most of our members are actually mid to smaller folks who are constantly coming to us and saying, we want to get involved in our college education, we're looking for workforce, trying to make sure that kids have the skills and their interests. Do you have suggestions on either resources or ways to help engage some of the folks who might be the employer side of the resources, or maybe have this college experience and don't know how to go about it?
Sure. I would start by saying that, pause and go second the answer. The best virtual field trip is one that either takes you, in my opinion, either takes you somewhere really interesting or where you get to meet really interesting people, right? And I think all of those people that are coming to you, I'm sure they have really interesting people that have a lot to share. And I think it's kind of just reversing the lens and saying, how can we spotlight the interesting things that we're doing, and how can we then get the word out to share that with other people? And so lots of the platforms, whether it be a Google Hangout, or mentioned Skype and so forth, they can allow you to do that. I think the technology and the how-to is there. It's more about finding those great people that are willing to invest the time, to put in the time. So I'm almost turning it back to those people and saying, you are able to, through the power of social media and technology, to do this, and then sharing what you're doing with other companies and corporations that can also help you get the word out.
So let me ask you, did you say you were the Chamber of Commerce?
Yes, the US.
So what's really cool is it depends on where the kids are in their life, on what they want to see. So for 5th grade, we studied force and motion. So we put the question out to all the different classes, and then we got the information back. Well, it would be a dream of mine if they all wanted to see the same thing, and they didn't. So we had a classroom of kids who just wanted to know how piano boards were made, electric piano boards. So I was able to call an Amana or a Maytag or something in the local area where an engineer came in who probably had been working for 30 years there, who no one's ever said, how did your piano gonna work? But he took that thing apart, and those kids, again, rock star status happened. Now the other kids wanted to build a roller coaster, so we had to Skype with someone from Carowinds to talk about engineer design for roller coasters. But anything someone does, if they have a genuine interest in kids, kids know that. They know if they're feeling loved and respected. So I would say, whatever you guys do, I know if I live near you, I've been calling you all the time to get people to work with our kids. I want to see every aspect of every job that they have a possibility to do. We know that in 20 years, the jobs our kids have are not even created yet. We know they'll have some sort of STEM focus, but I want my kids to collaborate, and I want them to have the ability to learn. I'll do the rest.
And also, just to wrap that up, also the power of digital, right? Whenever those conversations are happening, the idea that you're going to plan enough, far enough in advance, that you're going to have some way to capture that. And I think that's there are amazing things that go on in schools all the time. But do we capture them and do we share them out? I'm not sure that we do. I think we could do a lot better job of celebrating things that are happening in classrooms by recording it, by sharing with your local community and then the community at large, the EdTech community, via Twitter and Google Plus and so many other social media platforms. So,
thank you.
How many people here have done virtual field trips before? People can double by the time you leave. Yeah. They're a very exciting frontier. I really enjoyed listening to you guys talk about it because I'm thinking about the field trips when I was going to school and they didn't encompass the scope that you guys have created. I mean, I would love to go inside Google and see what is possible. Do you have any plans for future field trips you guys are excited about?
Sure, I'll share a few just to get started. If you're interested in joining us in 2 weeks, I believe, on Monday the 23rd, Monday's mixed up, will be live at an egg farm. 3 days later, on Thursday, we will be live from Ford's Theater. We're kind of working with Ford's Theater. It's the 150th commemoration of the assassination of Lincoln. So we will be live from the theater sharing with lots of interesting people about just what happened there and kind of dissecting that period in our history. We also have a number of events coming up in April and May, including we have a farm in Indiana. We partnered with the Shoah Foundation to bring teachers to Auschwitz just in January when the commemoration of Auschwitz occurred. And so we also were able to capture some footage and some teachers are going to have a live event about that as well coming up in May. So there's a whole skew of different events from Discovery side that we're planning. We would love for you to join us. And again, go to discoveryeducation.com/events and you can see the calendar and as things come up. That's what we both plan them and then we're planning.
There's a question over here.
Hi, I'm a preschool teacher from Mexico. Okay, like doing those virtual pictures, but not only pictures, like also I sometimes talk to my bar and read a book and stuff and kids work. They don't understand that so much because they're 3 and 5-year-olds, but they are starting to become close. And it's incredible how they know how with a click they can be talking to kids or adults from around the world. And what we did was paste a map onto the wall, and we are printing out pictures of the we have met with and dates. So the kids already know, like, they cannot walk to run them, but they know, like, since they're little and they're just looking at it. I love those experiences, and I've used Tag Classroom and Twitter. But I have a question for you guys. The Discovery Education site, put it up, things for preschoolers also.
That's a good question. I mean, Discovery, when they're going to planning these, how are they going to different grade levels or different grade levels?
Thank you for the question. Primarily as a company, we're focused more K-12. So we'll get that out in the open right now. We don't have as many, although we do try to plan for it. And so it depends on the topic. The egg farm virtual field trip, one of our most popular and always is more kind of K-5 focus. And so I think that's a lot of how we structure the content of that show as well. And being able to be very specific about this, the breakdown of how that event takes place so that we can capture questions from this group and questions from this group. And we get a lot of questions that also help us to guide how the show will unfold, which also then can help us to make it a little bit more age appropriate. I think the other thing I'd like to bring up along those lines is it's a great tangible example of things that you can do. Aisha, you were sharing earlier about the scrapbooks, the virtual field trips that you're having your students read.
Yes, so one of the tangible things that we want children to do after they've done a field trip is to scrapbook. I remember when I was young, go on family vacations. We would get the big book, we went to Michael's or AC Moore bought the big book, put postcards in there, pictures, we doodle. I was doing it before the just to capture with dates and things like that. So we encourage our students to do the same thing. So then at the end of the year, they can showcase. They have a virtual field trip digital portfolio and a hard copy to show the kids what's happening. So I would even give you another suggestion since there's probably not a ton of stuff out there right now, but to stick with the authors. I've never had an author turn me down. So they charge big money to come visit, but they will Skype or hang out for about nothing. Well, nothing for me, because I would say, oh, $100, well, no, I don't have that. But I have these kids who are really sweet and they're probably never be an author anytime. So hopefully I'll do it. So baby comes into this a lot too, but authors are great. And just calling companies like Corning or GE or Mitsubishi or Toyota and just let them while they're working on cars, hold up their phone and do some things there. Those are those really quick times where you can do a Skype or a virtual hangout or Google hangout. And again, not a lot of planning has to happen with that. Send your principal out front and have them open the hood of his car and say, I'm here from Toyota, that's mine. There's so much you can do.
Generous people are, they will give you their free time, it's 10 minutes, like 10-minute time, they make the kids safe.
Another question right here.
Hi, I'm Shirley from Eaton High School, the ISD for the South Education. My question is, how do you get in contact with all these like famous people and authors and such? Is it exclusively social media or is it team behind you, or is it really just comments?
No team, no extra pay. I'm trying to build capacity in teachers now, so they're doing some of their own negotiating. Social media, about 3 years ago, my friend Steve Durham introduced me to Twitter. I immediately called home and told my kids that I was tweeting. And now my daughter Katie's, her Twitter thinks that her description of her says my mother has more followers than I do. It's a sad day. So I get a lot from Twitter. Again, it's the retweets that get me. If I put it out there and Kyle retweets me, he has many more followers than I do. And then one of his friends retweets him. So it's just one of those things. Now, here's the thing that's going to happen one day. I'm going to get a bad reply. So I don't mean bad that it's a no, but bad that I probably shouldn't use that person. So I'm really watching carefully, putting blinders on, and being very careful that I know that I know that I know who that person is when I bring them into the classroom. So they have to know somebody that I know, or I have references, or they're from a legitimate company. John down the street, who sometimes works with cars and then has a bench with feet. I'm not going to get them.
Luckily, with the internet, you can figure those things out. How much is background check? And if you get anything bad, I'm sorry, just ignore it. Another question.
I'm just watching. I'm teaching in Austin, really high school, and it's a large suburban high school, 3,000 students, and we love the idea of that. This type of filter in the classroom. We have lots of everyone, we have every day, our everyday classes, everyday classes, first semester, prep times, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. How do you do that? How do you do an interactive filter within a classroom situation like that for high school?
Would you mind just repeating the situation one more time?
I'm sorry, we have, first of all, we have block scheduling, which means that we do classes every other day for an hour and a half. We also, of course, do different preparations, first period, second period, third period, fourth period. So we don't have all our students, of course, at the same time. We have 6 and 7 different teachers teaching the same type of product. For example, I have maybe 8 teachers on the team. So how do you do an interactive culture when you have some variables going on within a high school situation?
And how have you brought 120 first graders in one classroom?
So obviously it's easier when you're in elementary school because there is no block scheduling. So what I would suggest is to do it with one classroom. We will hang out, we will archive straight to YouTube, and then continue that same experience the next 3 classes. So it's not live, but then just switch that up every time. One of the best things we did in our high school, or our middle schools, was we went to visit home of Anne Frank, where she hid out. So the kids had read the diary, and then we virtually went to there. I cried the entire time because I had never been to that place. So we did it with one class, and we completely filmed it, and then we just pulled it up for the next one and the next one. And that may help with logistics. With Discovery and Google, they're already archived for you, so you can pull them up, you can stop them talking in mid-stream and have conversations with us. So I would do.
That's what I was going to add is lots of the technologies will allow you to pause it, allow you to rewind it in DVR style. So whether it's Hangout or live stream or YouTube or whatever that platform might be, press play, let it run, or just press play and press pause so that it wants to kind of load your browser and ready to go for the students.
But if you call Erin Brunwell and ask her to Skype with you, I'd be everybody in the gym. And there's sometimes when you just have to say, we're putting everybody in here, this is how instruction never shuts down in a virtual field trip. I think it continues all the way through, it's there's so much value in that.
I think that's all the time we have for questions, but I would like to close with getting a little bit of information from each of you on how that's the hashtag Kids on Mars, if you want to continue the conversation online, but Discovery, where do you contact a virtual field trip?
So discoveryeducation.com/events is where you can see both archive and
Any final advice on implementing the virtual field trip?
Just do it. So you can follow me at Dacia92, DACIA 92, and I can link you to my website, which is going to give you curriculum and some archives. If you follow me on the YouTube channel, I'm the first Dacia Jones. I'm not the second one. She's naked. It's so embarrassing that I was going to do principals, and I said, you can follow me on the YouTube channel. And principal practice said, by the way, the first one on there is naked. Is that you? No. I'm fully clothed, shaking hands with Lance Ritchie from Discovery. But follow me on YouTube. I will archive notes from everything, and I'll also archive in school too. If you follow me at Dacia92, I'll follow you back with a private message. I can email. We'd love to expand this across the country.
Yeah, so Doodle for Google is launching this year in September, so I hope you guys can check it out in September. We'll for sure have some virtual field trips for you guys. In the meantime, Google for Education has most of the information on.
I hope from the channels you guys all walk away and give it a shot, because the virtual field trip has been an amazing thing. I really love watching what it's done for kids and the access that it's brought, where I can actually get a kid from another side of the country to ask me a question while I'm sitting in the White House. That's not going to happen any other way.
Yeah, so I was just going to say the same thing. To get started, I think find what you're passionate about, what your teachers are passionate about, and then find the connection there. So,
And I would add, find what your kids are passionate about. And your kids are passionate, it's reciprocal. Teachers will fall in love with teaching again when they see that it's happening.
it's something she's passionate about.
Right?
I'd like to thank the panelists, thank you for discussing virtual field trips. Thank all of our
Dacia, you want to say goodbye?
Bye, guys. Bye.
Yeah, that's right. See you later, guys.